As Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government takes the reins in Britain, they inherit what many describe as an economic mess: soaring inflation, ballooning debt, and ailing public services. However, an unexpected upside has also emerged, one that could pave the way for the new administration to orchestrate a much-needed soft landing for the British economy. That is, if they play their cards right. On Thursday, the Bank of England delivered some welcome news to Labour's new economic team, presenting an outlook of faster-than-anticipated growth for the nation this year. Alongside a quarter-point interest rate cut, the first reduction in 4 years, the central bank raised its 2023 growth forecast to a healthy 1.25%, up from a mere 0.5% previously projected. This rosier projection comes coupled with predictions that the scorching inflation plaguing British households will steadily cool, sustainably retreating below 2.5% by the latter half of 2025. Unemployment, while expected to tick up, should peak at a relatively modest 4.8% in early 2026, according to the bank's estimates. For the embattled nation still reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic's economic shocks and the inflationary pressures emanating from Russia's war in Ukraine, such projections offer a glimmer of hope, a potential path towards stabilizing prices without suffering the devastating recession and joblessness many doomsayers had warned would be required. As former UK Treasury official Hedel Mehta notes, this economic outlook affords Chancellor Rachel Reeves and her Labour colleagues an unexpected boon, not factored into their blistering critiques of the Conservatives' fiscal policies this week. A steadying growth rate, cooling inflation, and the resulting reduced costs of servicing the nation's debt-burdened present opportunities, the new government dare not squander. The boost to growth in the short term and lower rates will help them. On that they've been quite lucky, concurs Vicky Price, a former senior government economist, now chief advisor at the Center for Economics and Business Research. The lower cost of borrowing and lower inflation will bring debt servicing costs down. However, as is so often the case with economic fortunes, this window of relatively positive conditions comes accompanied by substantial risks, perils largely tied to the policy decisions of the Labour government itself. For as Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey cautioned, overheating the economy with excessive stimulus could reignite inflation and undo the nation's fragile progress. In his remarks, Bailey stressed that the UK economy's current growth limit hovers around 1.5%, well below Starmer's stated ambition of 2.5% expansion. Unless Labour can catalyze heightened productivity and enhance the nation's economic potential, attempts to turbocharge growth beyond that ceiling would inevitably stoke inflationary pressures once more. That is the balancing act that the government has to do, Mehta affirms. Reeves' own policy announcements this week highlighted some areas of concern. Her unveiling of a £10 billion public sector pay raise, while delivering badly needed higher wages for frontline workers, could potentially fuel a broader inflationary spiral as the private sector follows suit. As Bailey noted, such public pay hikes have only a modest direct effect on prices, but he warned that private sector wage growth feeds through directly into headline inflation measures. Indeed, the bank's business surveys found employers already taking measures like reducing hours, increasing automation, and passing along higher costs to consumers in response to swelling wage pressures. With Labour's agenda including a higher minimum wage and strengthened worker protections, both laudable goals, but ones that could diminish labour market flexibility, the risks of overheating the jobs market appear tangible. Dave Ramsden, the bank's deputy governor for markets, suggested data indicates the nation's unemployment equilibrium rate may already be drifting above the central bank's estimates, a dynamic that would inherently add inflationary pressures. It would be negative for supply growth, he cautioned. The new deputy governor for monetary policy, Claire Lombardelli, echoed Bailey in asserting that while inflation risks loom, Labour also has opportunities to bolster the UK's productive potential in a manner that counteracts price pressures. Concrete policies that enhance skills, productivity, and overall economic dynamism could provide crucial support. For now, though, Reeves is eyeing £16.4 billion in additional borrowing after her team claimed to have uncovered a £21.9 billion fiscal black hole left by the prior Tory government. Only £5.5 billion in revenue-raising measures have been detailed so far, leaving the door open for substantial deficit spending in the Championship's looming October budget. Too much unfunded stimulus could force the Bank of England to apply the monetary policy brakes by slowing the expected pace of interest rate cuts, warns Mehta. That could undermine the debt service relief currently benefiting Britain's finances. For those policymakers for whom a cut was a close call, a large expansionary budget lifts the bar for cutting even higher, she says. As the labor brain trust huddles to craft their first fiscal blueprint, they would be wise to heed the bank's cautionary preachings. An overly aggressive expansion of government spending could overheat the economy, reigniting the inflationary fires the nation has only just begun quelling. Squandering the unexpected upside in growth and disinflation would represent an historic missed opportunity. But if tempered with prudence and an eye toward policies that genuinely enhance Britain's productive potential over time, the new government's economic program could well deliver a soft landing after years of turbulence. It's a narrow tightrope to walk, but one that could cement the Starmer administration's legacy as deft economic stewards. For Britain's beleaguered households and businesses, so much rests on labor striking that elusive balance. Mishandling this critical juncture could culminate in a vastly different epitaph, one lamenting a tragic fumbling of perhaps the last, best chance to stabilize the nation's finances. No pressure.